Hey, it's your boy Kai, and welcome to the Kyrus Has Friends Podcast, where I sit down with the people that mean the most to me, and those people are my colleagues and my friends. Before we get started with my interview with my special guest, Jenna Kuerzi, be sure to follow me on your favorite social media platforms. You can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at The Vibe with Kai. You can also visit my official website at thevibewithkai.com, where I'm always posting blogs and visuals and things that'll help you do good, feel good, be good, and live a good life full of good vibes. You can also get your Vibe with Kai gear by visiting my website. Get your hats, get your t-shirts, get your hoodies. Kick off 2021 in style and with good gear. Now, my guest today is Jenna Kuerzi. Jenna is an Actors Equity and SAG-AFTRA actor, singer, comedian, model, director. She's done everything. Jenna has performed in regional stages across the United States, as well as performed her critically acclaimed solo-ish show called Johnny Depp, a retrospective on late-stage capitalism internationally. With over 10 years of experience, Jenna brings a unique blend of dark humor, campy silliness, and grounded honesty to the stage and to the screen. Today, Jenna and I are going to be talking about the world of Johnny Depp. We'll chat about her critically acclaimed Johnny Depp podcast, his illustrious career, and how he is a complicated human being that we're allowed to have complicated feelings about. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, please enjoy my interview with the one and only Jenna Kuerzi. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Kyrus Has Friends. I'm sitting here with my friend, Jenna Kuerzi. What's up? What's
Hi.
going on? I'm so happy because I can't tell you the last time, like, in person that we've spoken.
Oh, man. I guess I want to say like 2014, maybe?
That was a long time. What were we doing in 2014?
I believe you came to see a little ditty called Bert and Me.
I did, yes.
Living to Delaware.
Yes. Was that the last time?
Maybe I saw you at Pittman, like
Maybe,
in between there.
Sure, why not? It's a small theater community.
Yeah.
So like, and what's funny is that like I've known of you for quite some time, and I know you've known of me, but we've never had like the privilege of like performing together.
I know. What is that?
What is this
So
nonsense?
whenever the world opens back up, we're going to write to all the people and we're going to say, look, we did
Yes.
a podcast exchange. So you have to hire us to at least be in the same room together.
I think that's how it works. I'm pretty sure that when the world is no longer on fire, the first thing that all of these casting directors are going to say is, you know what, Jenna and Kai, it needs to happen.
It's not going to be me, number one on their list. I'll tell you that much.
You and me both. I live under a microscope, and people will be like, "Is there anybody else? Anybody else that we can go with?" Okay, all right, Kai. All right, you're in.
Yeah, you got it.
I'm so excited to be sitting with you. We're going to talk about a variety of topics today. In the intro, I kind of gave everybody like a little background as to who you are. But before we get into all the stuff I want to talk about with Johnny Depp and with the candle business and all of that, because it's fascinating to me. Just generally speaking, we're all living in this COVID life now. This is just how things are in the world now. How are you holding up in COVID times? How are you doing?
Yeah, it's weird to say I'm okay, right?
Yeah.
Like, but I've actually found that this time has been a nice way to like actually become more of like an active participant in the world
Sure.
in a small way, like in my micro world.
Yeah.
Like I trained on my own in the summertime to run a half marathon, and so I was able to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like I get to spend more time with my boyfriend and my
Yeah.
rabbit and my cat, and
That's
so
quite
that
the combination. And I would watch a sitcom entitled "My Boyfriend, My Rabbit, and My Cat." I
I
would watch
know.
that.
And like Dan, my boyfriend is he used to be a stand-up comedian as well, so it never ends.
Oh, so it's nothing but laughs. Nothing
Endless.
but laughs in the Kuerzi household.
Yeah, sure. Endless bits, I will say that. Not always funny, but endless
Honey,
bits.
he's like, honey, I wrote this bit. I think I'm going to open up with this one. Let me know what you think.
Yeah, and I'm like, I don't know.
Are you at that point in your relationship where if he has like a stand-up comedy bit that he wants to try and he runs it by you, if it's not funny, will you tell him? Are you
I
just like,
mean,
that's great? Just give him a thumbs up.
yeah, it's like So he like stopped performing like in real life a few years ago.
Sure.
But it's still like trying out bits. We
Yeah.
do it to each other all the time, which is kind of nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we don't laugh at each other that much anymore. That's not true. After I guess 7 years,
I
you're
do not
like,
find I do not find his shenanigans funny anymore. How dare he? How dare
well,
he?
it's more so like you're listening and you're like, oh yeah, that's funny. But it's not like an actual like giggle out loud. You know what I mean? It's been
That's
a while.
fair. That's fair. At some point, I want to have him on this podcast as well, and I'm going to ask him. I'm gonna like right now. I'm taking your side, but I'm gonna take his side when he's on my podcast.
He'll
And
probably say the same thing. He'll be like, she's not very. I don't know.
he's not very funny.
I don't know. I think we both think we're funny. It's
Yeah,
fine.
that's fair. That's fair. So one of the things that I know that I've seen both from a Facebook perspective and social media perspective, and just things that you put out there and all of that, COVID. Like I know you feel like fine, which is great, and it's not weird to say at all. I think because I always say to people, 2020 is what you make of it. There was a
Yeah.
lot of things that were out of our control that we just couldn't control, but we can control ourselves. But I know that COVID hit you pretty hard, right? I believe you said you lost your job as a result of all of that. What is it? What is it like trying to navigate those COVID waters?
Yeah, that's been rough because especially since we're performers,
Hmm.
jobs disappeared. Like literally overnight disappeared. And what are we supposed to do?
Right.
Unemployment is a shit show. And so that was like a big fight that I was having in the beginning of quarantine. And then I've been able to luckily like shift my standardized patient work to an online format. So like I
Sure.
still have a little bit of income coming in, but for an entire industry to just evaporate like
It just
that
shut
and
down. Yeah.
completely shut down. And like it becomes, I had just joined SAG and
Yeah.
Actors Equity like within the past 2 years. And then that just like completely disappeared and I'm paying
Right.
dues on things that don't matter right now,
Right, exactly.
like, which is
But
fine.
one of the things that I admire about you though, is the fact that you still you're hustling, right? Just like we all are. Like we're all hustling because we have to eat. So we have to have a roof over our head. We
Yeah.
have to be able to be healthy and still find happiness in a place where it's difficult to find that happiness sometimes, right?
Yeah.
So I admire you because, like you said, like even after all of that, you still can sit here today and be like, I'm doing okay. It's not
Yeah.
ideal, but I'm doing okay. Is that a general like a good idea, some like summary of how you feel right now?
Yeah. And I also think that it's cool because like I've never, like performing and being an actor and a performer is very much part of my identity, which I feel like a lot of us feel is that like that's a very important part of our identities. And for some people, that's it.
Hmm.
And so like this time being feeling lost without that
Right.
it's been interesting to get back in touch with things because like that's an important part of my identity, but I never let it define me
Sure.
completely, which I think informs the way I perform. And I think you're the same, or like you have a life outside of theater, even if theater can be your life a lot of the time.
Right.
Um, but getting back in touch with the things that make me me and make
Mm-hmm.
me special as a performer, but aren't necessarily theater based
Yes.
has been nice.
And I know a lot of people have struggled with that because, like, when we're
Yeah.
like, for those of you that are watching that aren't familiar with how theater works, and what it's out and how hard it is. When we're all throughout school and like whether it's high school or college, we're told if you want to make it in the theater world, you got to give it 125%. There's no half-assing it and making it. You got to be able to to work these shit jobs in order to make it big. You got to
Not
be
get
able to be
treated
like,
well and like
yeah.
not get paid enough.
Exactly.
You know.
Exactly. You gotta be able to make those sacrifices and blah, blah, blah. So like as a result, we spend like our entire we like legit put our eggs in one basket because we're taught that you're not going to make it unless you put your eggs in one basket. If you're not out there auditioning every day or submitting yourself every day, you're not going to make it. Right.
Yeah.
So when this pandemic came around, and then a lot of it was just ripped away from performers. I mean, it was like they're just like, but okay, what now? And like some of the backup jobs that performers would go to, like serving at restaurants, like that was taken away as well.
Yeah.
And a lot of the things that we're so used to was just not there. but so we have to, a lot of people have to hustle. Like for me, I've been very blessed because like I've always had a full-time job and I never had to like struggle in that regard lately. But when I first initially like graduate college, it was ride or die for me. I was like, I'm making it to Broadway, and like that's the end of the line. I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, I'm gonna suffer my way there, and I will get there. Yeah.
Yeah, and now like that's another thing. So I guess my question, like with all of that being said, my question to you is this. Let's just say tomorrow, everybody's vaccinated, the virus goes away, everything's okay, things start to open back up. It's all safe to hang out and party and do theater, whatever it is.
Mm.
Do you think that you will go back to that life?
Yeah. I like don't really see an alternative. And I've told myself this since I started, that was like, if you can literally do anything else, like just go do it. And that's not my path, like my path is the artist path, whether I want it to be or not. But I do have like a lot of grand plans when we come out of here. And like, I'm not feeling so much concern about finding work when the pandemic's over, because I think people are going to be hungry for it.
People are going to be itching. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Do you think that, I mean, a lot has happened in the theater world since the pandemic kind of hit, and like not just
honestly good.
Yeah, like some of it not just from a pandemic standpoint. I mean, we have the whole diversity issues that theaters have run into, which conversations have been having. I mean, thankfully, that these are conversations that need to be had among many other things. Where even if you talk about like subscriber bases for a lot of theaters that are literally dying off. Because like people our age don't really buy subscriptions. Like I
can't wait for a comp. Yeah,
it's like hopefully somebody in the cast that can get you a comp, or either that, or you go on like one of those like one of those gold star ticket things.
Oh
like,
yeah,
like a cheap ticket, or you just go get your ticket like the day off, right? If all resources are dried up, it's like, okay, well, I guess I'm just buying a ticket, right? How different do you think theater will be once it's all said and done?
God, I hope it's different, because it wasn't sustainable before, and it wasn't something that brought me a ton of joy all the time because of that, because of subscriber base who are old white farts. And nothing against old white farts. I know a lot of them, but like
those old white farts sign my paychecks, Jenna.
They sure do. Yeah. When you're working on some of those Lort theaters, you know who's paying the bills. You look out in the sea of people, and it's a very specific demographic at some of those theaters. But like, it's like you just said, they're dying off. They're not going out as much anymore. I'm hoping that it revitalizes the community, because more diverse people on your stage does get more diverse bodies in your audience. But I've been producing my own work as well for the past few years, which I'm assuming we'll talk about. But like, we've offered pay what you decide ticket tiers. And if you can't afford to see the show and you want to come anyway, that's fine. Just show up. Like, just show up. Right. Somebody will pay it forward for you. And I'm hoping that like larger theaters start to implement a pay what you decide platform, because then it gets the people who don't like theater to come see theater, because they can't afford theater because it's too expensive.
Right. And it has become expensive, especially on Broadway. I mean, a Broadway ticket, I mean, it was good Lord.
Well, I mean, you have your big heavy hitters like Hamilton or Hadestown that like people are paying $500 a ticket.
Right.
But there are cheaper options, but like they don't advertise those.
Right. They don't advertise it. And also like in addition to that, like the cost to get up there, if you're driving, the cost to park, the cost to take the train in, the cost to eat, like all of the stuff, like you factor it in, and it's like, you might as well just take that money and go to Disney World.
But like, a flight, it's literally a flight ticket to get up to New York.
Yes, legit. Absolutely. So, and actually I'm glad you brought up like some of the things that you've been doing, because that was going to be one of the questions that I asked you is what are some of the things that you would like to see change, and what are some of the things that you've been doing, not just over the past year, but over the past couple of years from a theater perspective to help improve the environment?
Yeah, I try to always like signal boost organizations that, because like I am a white woman, so like whatever. I try to signal
What?
boost white. I try to signal boost as many, diverse organizations and people
Mm,
as possible, because I just think white people theater is boring.
mm,
And I've partnered with my friend Val Dunn, and we've started to write some small things here and there, and just
mm.
like trying to push theater out of Square Town and
Yeah.
into a more exciting and accessible medium for people who don't go to theater. Because that's what I'm interested in. I'm not really interested in like uh, patrons of the Walnut coming to see
Mm,
my shows. I mean, they do, and I
sure.
appreciate them. And I think it's good to have like a wide net cast of what you can do and be versatile in what you do.
Absolutely.
But like a lot of the work that I'm making right now is accessible to all,
Mhm.
if they want to come out and see it.
I'm glad you used that word accessible, because one of the main complaints that I've had about theater in general, especially in our area, for those of you that don't know, we live in like the South Jersey, Philly area, and
Mhm.
um, one of the things that really bothered me is the fact that we live in this like theater bubble
Yeah.
sometimes. That's very, it can be toxic at times, and we
Yes.
don't look at outsiders very well, even though we're supposed to be one of the most inclusive like organizations
Art
and
forms. Yeah.
communities
Like,
in, like in the world, but it can be so weird. And so like I'm glad you said the word accessible, because we live in this bubble, we sometimes without even thinking will shun certain communities, certain people, from being able to perform or come see the show, or
mhm.
even like we just assume people know that we're here,
Yeah.
what we're doing, and when that's not necessarily the case, like that, like never go into a situation thinking that everybody knows who you are and what you're doing. And
Yeah.
if you want to grow theater, and like theater is trying to grow, and if you want to do that, we have to either burst that bubble or expand it significantly.
Yeah, I agree with that. And like, but I mean, this is something that's been festering under the surface for
Yes.
years.
Hmm.
And like, I'm, a very small person in the grand scheme of things, but even I have never really felt welcome necessarily in the
Sure,
community.
I
I
get
just,
that. Hmm.
yeah. And like, we just work really hard, but it's not like people will be like, oh, here's the 15 people that I cast all the time. And Jenna and Kyrus are those 15 people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's never been my truth.
Right, right.
And so now in the pandemic, I think people are finally feeling like they are empowered to say something because they're
Yes.
not struggling to get hired,
Mm.
which sucks. But I hope that that energy remains,
Yes.
because it's been kind of like crazy to watch. But at the
Yeah.
same time, I'm like, well, if y'all were doing the work in the first place,
Hmm.
then you wouldn't need to be called in
Absolutely.
and deal with your mistakes.
Absolutely. And I say to people all the time, like, this is actually the perfect time to be having these conversations when there isn't really any theater happening outside of like the Zoom things that we see.
Yeah.
There really isn't anything happening. So this is the perfect time to be having these conversations and to set standard operating procedures for making theater accessible for people of color, for for people with disabilities, for all types of people that may not have the same uh, I guess preferential treatment that they normally get, in
Yeah.
that regard. So I'm glad that's happening. I'm glad that I'm really happy that you're doing, like, I know you're being humble. So I'll humble brag for you, and say that what you're doing, you're a lot more than a small part. You are doing the work that is necessary. And like when there's a bunch of Jennas out there doing what you do, that
Mm.
stuff adds up, and it can become like a huge effect. So I'm hoping that your work is just the beginning of something grand that
Aw.
will come to into play in the future.
Thanks,
So
Kyrus. I'm gonna blush,
absolutely,
but you can't tell
absolutely.
because my lighting's so bad.
That's what you wanted me to say, right? I think I read it.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. I did
Yeah,
pay you to say that. That's right. That's right.
So let's talk about your candle operation, because this fascinates me. You started a small candle operation called Dumpster Fires for You,
Yeah, my empire.
which
Yeah.
is amazing. Every candle is 100% soy wax and essential oils, hand poured and mixed by you, with upcycled materials. How did you get into this, and why candles?
So this is crazy town a little bit, but like I went So I was feeling like pandemic blues one day,
Sure.
and I was just walking around a Hobby Lobby.
That's always the best start to any story. It doesn't matter where it goes from here. Now I know
Yeah,
it's gonna be
you
epic.
know, don't necessarily patron Hobby Lobby because their CEO is a jerk, but at the same
Oh
time,
yeah,
if
let's
you're
not even
trying
get
to,
started on that.
no, but if you're trying to look for like something to do, walking around Hobby Lobby is a good place to start.
Sure.
And I saw this like candle maker just sitting on a shelf, and it was the last one, and I was like, I want to make some candles. So I just like started making, and I actually have like a few examples right here.
Yes.
But I was gifted like a ton of these yogurt cups,
Ooh.
and they're like terracotta yogurt cups.
Yeah.
And so I just started making candles in them, and they smell good, and I was good at it. So
That's
people
so
started
cool.
buying them.
Where did you get the name from? It's titled Dumpster Fires for You.
Yeah.
Where did the that's a fantastic name. How did
Thank
you come
you.
up with that?
So my friend Val and I, who I do Johnny Depp, a retrospective on late stage capitalism with,
Mhm.
we always say that our our company name is Dumpster Fires LLC because we're not an LLC. We're just two people who make dumpster fire art. So I was like, maybe I'll call it Dumpster Fires LLC, but I'm not a real LLC. And when you're selling things, that's a problem. um,
It
so
might come into some legal issues there, maybe.
yeah,
Maybe.
exactly. And dumpster fires, the like term dumpster fires is actually copyrighted. So I was like,
Okay.
let's make it dumpster fires for you.
That is fantastic.
And they're all rescued from the trash
Right, right.
because it's like thrifted materials. I
I
have
see.
another
Right, right,
little
right.
guy here who like this is a cat that I saved from a thrift store, but he's a
Are you
cannibal.
a big thrifter?
No, but it's so, because I don't have time normally, you know,
Yeah, yeah,
usually super busy. But when I have time, like I
yeah.
live in South Philadelphia, so I just walk to the thrift stores and
Sure.
walk home.
Right, right. Was it hard? Was it hard starting like a small business in the middle of I keep calling it a panorama, sort of a pandemic.
A panini,
A
yeah.
panini. Is it hard starting a small business in a panorama panini?
In a panorama, I guess it could. You get the wide picture. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I mean it's weird because everything's contactless and everything
Yeah.
has to be like online in some
Hmm.
way. And so January was really tough,
Yeah.
but I started like Christmas, like right before Christmas.
Hmm.
So I've only been doing this for 3 months.
Yeah.
That's crazy. It feels like a lifetime. Um, but I started before Christmas, so people were looking for gifts to buy, and it
Sure.
started with word of mouth, and which has been nice because I live in a small, sort of like tight knit, buy nothing community
Sure.
in
Sure.
South Philadelphia.
Yeah.
And then I was able to do an open air market the day before Christmas Eve, and that was like really successful, and that got
Cool.
the name out a lot. So
Yeah.
I'm hoping that when the spring comes and like outdoor events are more of a thing and like
Right.
vendor events are popping up a little bit more.
That you'll find more success like you did for this event. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, like this week has been okay because of Valentine's Day
Sure.
and word of mouth. Um, but yeah, it's definitely weird because we know how to market.
Right.
It's our actor
Hmm.
job.
Yep.
So that part was easy. It's just like
Yeah.
actually getting the product
Right.
out that's annoying.
Wait, they paid me money and they actually want the product? Oh no.
Well,
No.
and I think a lot of it came down because like a lot of my customers are people who have seen me on stage. So a lot of it came down to, well, this is a physical item that
Yes.
I can purchase and I have, and I'm
Yes.
supporting you, but it's a physical item. So I feel better buying a candle than I do paying for a ticket to come see your show.
Unless they just hire you to perform that show whenever they want. You're just
Right.
Jenna on demand.
Yeah. Well, it's funny too because for Johnny Depp, my
Yeah.
soloist show, we give out goodie bags. You know, in a post-COVID world, I guess you take it home, but we used to reuse them all. But we
Yeah.
gave everybody like a little candle votive to too light, and then we all say our favorite Johnny Depp movie and we blow it out together like it's a birthday party. But now I said to Val, I will never have to buy candles ever again for Johnny Depp. I can just make them.
Exactly. You can just
and
make it
maybe
now.
people will purchase a ticket.
Right. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. That's amazing. So I guess with that being said, if somebody is listening or watching right now and they're like, wait, I want one of these candles, damn it, where can they go?
Yes, they can go to @Dumpster Fires for You. That is for the word, not the number, on Instagram. And you can just take a look. Everything on my feed is available for purchase. And you just message me and I take Venmo and PayPal and I'll set it aside. I'll ship it out to you if you want. I'll put a special little card in it if you want. I'll do anything. Take the shit out of my house.
Yes, just buy it. Just buy it. Come on now. Help an artist here. And listen, I'm gonna put it in. I'm gonna put for anybody listening and all that, I'm gonna put the contact information she just said. I'm going to put that in the show notes. It's going to be here on the screen as well, so people can contact you and get some of those damn candles. They're going to be worth it.
Yes, and they're really good. I promise they're good. They're all clean burning too, which is nice. Like I have pets and people have pets, so, you know. So
with that said, I want to transition into the most fantastic thing I've ever heard of in my life. We're going to talk Johnny Depp because you've become sort of like this aficionado for Johnny Depp. So I'm gonna read what you wrote here. So with live theater on pause, Jenna pivoted her show Johnny Depp: A Retrospective of Late Stage Capitalism and started a podcast called Depp Impact, which is a fantastic name. And it started. She started watching all of Johnny Depp's movies. She created a podcast, and then inviting a bunch of people to talk about those movies. I'm going to be on your podcast next week. We're going to talk about Public Enemies, which I'm excited to talk about. And this podcast, she has a discussion about all of 91 of Johnny Depp's illustrious films, television appearances, music video appearances. It is a celebration of movies we love, the movies we forgot existed. And honestly, it's about a complicated human being that we're allowed to have complicated feelings about. It's available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Anchor, wherever you listen to podcasts. With that being said, the one thing I want to point out here is what you say in your description. You say, and I quote, this is about Johnny Depp, a complicated human being we're allowed to have complicated feelings about. Now, the reason that stands out to me is because, I mean, let's address, I guess, the elephant in the room about Johnny Depp. This is big because I know a lot of people have complicated feelings about this man.
Yeah.
Mainly because of the ongoing issue with his ex-wife, Amber Heard. He has been a figure of controversy in that regard. I wanted to know, what are your thoughts just on that entire situation? For those of you that aren't familiar, go Google it, go look up the situation between Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. But
that's right.
Because there's a lot, there's a lot of information.
It never ends.
Legit, and I think it's going to continue this summer, like when it starts to come over to the United States and all of that.
Yeah.
So with that said, what are your thoughts on just Johnny Depp and this current situation with his ex-wife?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think the reason why I've continued this project, even after he's been, I'd say, canceled for the right reasons. Maybe not canceled, but like called in, definitely.
Sure.
Held accountable, let's say.
But yeah.
He's still somebody that I was just obsessed with when I was a kid. And the reason Johnny Depp even re-entered my life in any large way is because Val and I were brainstorming something for her to write, for me to perform. And we both figured out that we had both dressed up as Johnny Depp for Halloween when we were in high school, at Jack Sparrow, more specifically.
Of course.
And so I said, well, I know a lot about him.
Yeah.
Let's just do it. And then when live performance stopped, I was already going through his entire filmography, but I was like, you know what, let's just shift and we'll do this podcast. I'll do this podcast. And the way that I feel about him is that I believe he is a deeply troubled individual. There's a lot of like drug and alcohol abuse in his past, present, probably future, unfortunately. And a lot of that is directly related to the troubles that he's going through right now with Amber Heard.
Mm-hmm.
I think also that people's personal relationships are extremely complicated.
Yeah, I agree.
And there's we will never, no matter how many allegations, how much proof, how many text messages, we will never know the full extent of their relationship.
Right. Mm-hmm.
It's quite possible that they were both just extremely ill-fitted, very bad matches for each other, and very bad to each other.
Right.
That doesn't mean that anybody deserves to be abused, either Amber towards him or him towards Amber.
Right.
But I just don't, like, I feel good, not good, but I feel okay speaking about his troubles and still being able to talk about his movies in a way that's objective and like doesn't actually drag any of his personal shit in, unless he was a motherfucker and showed up and brought his personal shit into that terrible performance. I'm looking at you, Crimes of Grindelwald. But like,
we're gonna talk about that too. But yeah, absolutely. No, it's funny. It's funny that you say that though, because I have had multiple conversations just in regards to like cancel culture in general. And like I have my thoughts. In that regard, that can be another podcast for another day.
Yeah, totally.
About that. But one of the things that I stand by, and I might die on this hill alone, but I truly do believe that I'm able to at least separate sometimes the artist from the work that they've done. I use Bill Cosby as an example, right?
Yeah.
He is a terrible, terrible human being.
Yeah, bad man. Very
bad man. Right. Incredibly hard. But I still listen to his comedy albums. I grew up with the Cosby Show, you know.
Yeah.
I don't, and what sucks is that sometimes I guess people think that that's me like condoning or accepting his behavior, and it's not. He is a gross man, and it's hard for me to look at him sometimes, given that. But I have fond memories of listening to his album and all of that. And I'm curious if it's the same for you, you know, even given all of the stuff that Johnny Depp and like obviously nothing is like, no, like you said, we don't know. We'll never know like the full story of what actually happened, I'm sure. But with that said, for you, is it a matter of separating the man from the real, like I guess the characters that he's played and all that, separate his art from his real life? Is that what it's like for you?
Yeah, sometimes. I have like a really tough time, and maybe you feel similarly as well, but like I run towards messy things. Like I'm not afraid to deal with him and his characters and what he brings.
Right.
So yeah, I can separate an Edward Scissorhands from this like bedazzled bracelet wearing like drunk middle-aged man that's standing in front of me now. Because it doesn't feel like the same person.
Right.
But also I don't feel bad about exploring that person. And I mean, Bill Cosby's a great example because the Cosby Show revitalized an entire television, genre.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Louis C.K., same thing. Like,
absolutely. That's a great example. Yeah, I always thought Louis C.K. was funny. I will still to this day listen to a lot of his albums.
Yeah,
he is a gross human being.
Another very
masturbating in front of other female comics and like that kind of
bad.
Stuff. It's disgusting.
Very bad.
Disgusting. Very, very bad. But like some of his jokes, I'm like, that's pretty funny though.
Yeah, I know. And sometimes things you'll read it and be like, oh man, this is just too real, but it's for you, which is difficult. And
or some stuff is like, oh, that didn't age well.
Yeah. And something I'm interested in too is that like it's just, I keep saying it, people are gonna be people. Like people are gonna people. And I think that we should figure out why people are people in, as opposed to being like, well, you're being a person, so
I believe it's called psychology, Jenna. If I'm
I'm not a doctor, so I don't.
Do you think that Johnny Depp should have been fired from Fantastic Beasts?
Yeah, probably.
Because he would have. I mean, his controversy probably would have overshadowed
whatever they were doing.
Yeah, but it's funny. I laugh mainly because I'm saying, oh yeah, the stuff that's happening in real life would overshadow the movie. Meanwhile, I'm thinking of all the things that J.K.
Oh my
Rowling
God.
has
She's
tweeted.
canceled. Yeah, like, I don't know. But another one, be held accountable for your work. And like, I'm not, the other thing too, that like with Johnny Depp's career, if I can profit off of his bullshit,
Yeah, right.
I'm not paying him,
Right,
like
exactly.
and like
Right.
people aren't gonna, maybe they'll go out and watch a movie, but like
Yeah.
they're not gonna go, and we talk about it on the podcast a lot, so we're probably gonna have this conversation
Yeah.
again
Mm-hmm.
next week. But like, I don't. It's very clear how I stand on this dude, and a lot of people would come to our show and be like, "Well, are you going to defend him for an hour?" And I'm like, "Absolutely not.
Right. Right.
I
Right.
play him the way that an egotistical actor is play.
Yeah.
Like
Mm-hmm.
that's my Johnny Depp is
Yeah.
gross."
Right. So I guess in regards to Johnny Depp, do you feel that his recent troubles? I mean, like he's had these troubles this entire life, but do you know
Yeah.
the stuff that's happening recently? Do you think that's going to define his overall legacy?
I mean, unless he comes forward and actually says something,
Mhm.
because that's the problem, right?
Yeah.
Is that if you're like just bashing the accuser in the
Mhm.
press, but you're not actually taking responsibility for anything that you've
Sure.
done, then like, yeah, it is going to define your legacy.
Right. Right.
And I don't feel bad about that.
Do you think he has like a Robert Downey Jr. type of redemption story? Do you think he has that in him?
See, what's tough about RDJ, because I also appreciate him as an actor,
Yeah.
is that he straight up was like, I'm a monster.
Yeah. Mhm.
I'm going to disappear for a few years.
Mhm.
And then when I come back, it's not going to replace what I did,
Mhm.
but I will acknowledge that I did it.
Sure.
And I
Sure.
think Johnny Depp, I mean, he's been trying to rehab his image for, I
Sure.
guess, 3 years now, but like
Right. Right.
you just have to put in the time and you have to register that you were wrong.
Right. Right. That's
Because
fair.
I do it all the time. If I fuck up, I'm like, oh,
Oh yeah,
God.
I think that's an underrated skill, and I'm glad that because like I think a lot of people they let their pride get to them,
Yeah,
and as a result they shy away from saying, "Hey, I fucked up. I
we're
fucked
seeing
up."
it a lot now too. What we
Yeah.
said about like people getting called in the theater community, like
Yes.
you
Oh
can
my God.
say,
Yeah.
you
Hmm.
can say it's okay. I fucked up.
Hmm. That's
That's
what I said. I can't tell you how many diversity communities I've sat on, and
I'm
I like
sure.
over the past year, and I say to them, I say to each one of them, I'm like, the first step is you have to acknowledge what you screwed up on. You
Yeah,
have to acknowledge. It's not just a matter of saying like, okay, this is what we're doing. No, literally say we messed up, and
yeah,
we're going to do better, and this is how.
yeah.
You have to acknowledge. You have to acknowledge your role in this. Otherwise, nobody's going to take you seriously. You can't let your pride. You can't sit there and be like, "Whoa, we count black people all the time." That's not that's not just
Right,
not just
that's
about
not
that.
it. Well, we put, a minority person in control. Yeah, but you didn't fix it and you set
Right.
them
Right.
up for
Exactly.
failure. That's
Exactly.
not
Mhm.
it.
Exactly. No, I think people acknowledging their wrongdoings will always be the first step. Will it always follow you? Sure. Will there always be people that are going to be like, you know what, screw you, I'm not whatever? Sure,
Yeah,
of course. You can't please everybody,
yeah,
but you can, focus on starting from within as a like forgiving yourself and acknowledging the way that you fucked up and kind of
mhm,
going from there. With that said, I do want to do kind of like what we talked about here, and so we talked about his real life stuff. I do want to talk about him as an actor. He's one of my favorite actors of all time.
yeah.
He
Like,
really
point
is.
blank period.
Yeah,
That's
like he's one of the most eclectic, uh diverse, flexible,
honest. It's like,
yeah, like
yeah,
I've always he's all and here's what I love about him is that he's always willing to like take a chance. Like he'll be goofy and then he'll be like, straightforward, and but
yeah,
he's very dynamic in that regard. He doesn't like just relegate himself to just one like part, type of part and all that.
yeah.
I love Johnny Depp as an actor. I've always loved his work. To you, what makes Johnny Depp stand out from other actors out there?
Yeah, when I first, like in high school, it was, Jack Sparrow was most of our first windows into a lot of that. Well, I guess Edward Scissorhands
Hmm.
to an extent, but his weirdos, right? Like his weirdos and queerdos that gave people who didn't necessarily fit in or had other interests that weren't just like whatever my rural farm community high school was interested in.
Right.
You know? And when I wanted to be an actor, I would look to people like him or I guess like I'm trying to think of who else. He was really one of the ones that I was like, I'm going to watch everything that you've done and I'm going to figure out what it is that makes you performance wise on screen, and I'm going to copy it and try to like figure it out and how it fits with me. Kate Blanchett's another one that's like,
oh, she's great.
Yeah, she's amazing. I mean, now I think Viola Davis is the greatest living actor.
Oh my God.
Point blank, period.
100%.
And so like people who have more weird roles, I guess I was always drawn to, and he was number one.
Like the king of those, like
he's like, king of the weirdos,
like, abstract roles. I do want to talk about his films here. Oh my gosh, there's so many. Like
91 illustrious video game voiceover television.
I know, like he's done so. We could talk about his perfume commercials. Like he's he's done it all. So I'm kind of curious here. I listed out my favorite Johnny Depp movie, my least favorite Johnny Depp movie, and a Johnny Depp movie that I feel doesn't get as much love as it deserves.
Okay.
So I want to start with Johnny Depp movies that we love. I'll say mine. I'm curious what yours are. I couldn't pick just one, so I picked two for each of these categories.
Okay.
So here's Johnny Depp movies that I love. The first, Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't go wrong.
No.
And Finding Neverland. Those two always stand out to me. I really like Finding Neverland a lot.
I do love Finding Neverland. I haven't watched it in a long time. I remember it being very sentimental, which isn't always my favorite, but
yeah.
Can you guess? I'm not that sentimental. But those are two good choices.
Yeah, I would say those like out of men. I could have went in any direction, but I'm like, let me really think about this. Let me think about ones where I just thoroughly enjoyed his performance. Not that I didn't with the others, but those two stand out to me the most.
Yeah, I would say performance-wise, I mean Pirates of the Caribbean, but just for sake of being different, I'll say the two that I love are Ed Wood.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes.
Extraordinary movie.
Yeah.
And Crybaby.
I don't think I've ever seen Crybaby.
Oh, it is wild. So again, the king of the weirdos, that John Waters was another one that like I found when I was in high school and I was like, I am obsessed.
Yes, yeah.
I need to do everything that this guy has done. Yeah. Maybe at a higher budget, but but then here we are, you know.
Right.
Whatever.
I have to add that to my list of ones to see. My least favorite Johnny Depp movies, I picked two. Mordecai.
It's the worst movie ever made. Awful. I hate it.
It's so awful. And I remember watching the preview to it and I'm like, okay, all right, let's do this because I like Paul Bettany and like it had like an all-star cast and what's her face?
The other half of Late Stage Capitalism, Gwyneth Paltrow.
What's the goop lady? What's her name? Gwyneth Paltrow. Yes. So Mordecai and the Lone Ranger. I'm not a fan of the Lone Ranger.
Bad Lone Ranger's bad too. I just revisited that. Well, now I'm doing like all the bad movies because in the beginning of quarantine when I pitched this to people, they picked all the good movies.
Oh, of course.
So now all the guests that I'm getting, I'm like, oh, fuck, I have to watch The Lone Ranger again. I watched this in the beginning of quarantine and I don't remember it.
And on top of that, it's funny that I think that's one of my least favorite movies because like it also stars Armie Hammer, who's also in the news recently for cannibalism.
Literally that news dropped when I was recording the podcast and I was like,
oh my God.
All right, here we go. We walk into controversy. No, every day is a new thing. Every day is a new day, you know? That's a really good. There's this movie called The Professor, which is legitimately the worst film.
That came out recently, right? Like in the last couple years, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
It is a nightmare. Yeah. Johnny Depp plays. It's literally so Mordecai is a really bad movie that I've seen. Yeah. The Professor may possibly be the worst movie I've ever seen.
Oh, like in general.
Yeah, it's terrible because Johnny Depp just plays this like dick fart of a guy who like gets diagnosed with terminal cancer. So he just assumes that that's like another reason to be a dick fart. It's terrible. It's awful. He's
Interesting.
so bad at it.
Is that's not the one where he plays like a photographer that he has to go like take pictures of a war torn area, right? That's
Oh
not.
no, that is
Did that come out?
no,
Okay.
Minamata.
Oh,
So
okay, okay.
that movie was supposed to come out 2 years ago and got shelved because of all this bullshit with him.
Wow.
So that's just
There's
like
been a couple movies of his that got shelved because I know that the one that he did with Biggie Small, about Biggie Smalls with
City of
Forrest
Lies.
Whitaker.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that one got shelved, but that was because the LAPD was just like, no, we don't want this out there.
Yeah. I'm not really excited for that movie too.
Yeah, yeah, but that didn't happen.
No,
Are there
no,
any other movies that stand out to you from Johnny Depp that you're like, that's awful?
that's terrible. Oh my God, I hate, hate the second Alice in Wonderland film.
Oh, I didn't see that. I didn't see the second one. I had no interest. I had zero interest in the second one.
The first
None.
one's bad. The second one is like it's unforgivable.
Oh no. Oh
He's
yeah, I'm glad I
really
didn't see
bad
it.
in it. It's not. It's
I'm glad I didn't see it. So I also have these two movies that these are movies that I think Johnny Depp movies that I don't think get as much love as they deserve.
okay.
The first one is Secret Window. I really like Secret Window. It was what I liked about it was that there wasn't anything like quirky about it. He was just like normal guy, right? Like normal writer that just happens to stumble upon, I don't
A
want to give the
mystery.
ending away, but like just happens to stumble upon, everyday haunting circumstances, I guess.
Sure. Secret Window.
And
Okay.
I remember watching that. I remember my dad took me I went, he didn't take me. My dad and I went to go see it together.
Yeah, I think I
I
saw
remember,
it.
I remember being like, okay, sure. Why not?
Remember when every movie ended like that, though, without
Yes.
spoiling the ending? Remember when
Yes.
every movie had that ending?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. In
Mhm.
2003 or whenever that
Yeah,
was?
that was quite the time period. The other movie that I have that doesn't get as much love as it deserves, and I don't know if you're gonna punch me for this. I liked From Hell.
I love From Hell. I think
Yeah,
it's great trash.
yeah. I just think that there's nothing or there's no reason why people shouldn't enjoy that movie if you don't if you take it too seriously. Of course, it's like okay, but
Yeah, yeah.
come on.
Yeah. I love trash. I think it's amazing. Similarly, like kind of trashy, but like fun.
Don't say The Astronaut's Wife.
I mean, I do love that movie, but that's not on my list.
That was not a good movie.
It's a terrible movie, and I love every minute of it. Sleepy Hollow.
I forgot about Sleepy
That's what I'm
Hollow.
saying. And
He
it's like,
played Ichabod, right? Ichabod.
yeah, he's
Yes.
amazing.
Oh, I forgot about that movie.
Yeah, that movie's so good. And then I think Blow. If you've ever seen the movie
Ooh,
Blow.
that's a good one. I remember that movie mainly because my first job ever was Blockbuster Video.
Cocaine.
My first job ever was Blockbuster Video, and I remember the cover. I think it was like him. It was like a white background and him, either him laying down. Who was it? Penelope Cruz? Is that who it
Penelope
is?
Cruz.
Yes, like those two on the cover. And I remember I wanted to see it, and my dad was like, "No, no, you're way too young to watch this movie." But I'm
Yep.
like, "I want to watch it. I work here. People keep talking about it. I want to see
They're
it."
like, they keep asking me if it's good, but I haven't seen it yet.
Most of them, because back at this time, it was. I remember like one of the movies that people kept renting was like Showgirls, stuff like that. And I'm like,
Yeah, I
people,
love Showgirls.
yeah, people would come in and they'd be like, "Hey, do you have Showgirls intact?" And I'm like, yeah, let me go check. And I remember seeing the cover and I'm like, oh, this looks like a movie. And it wasn't until maybe I was like in my mid 20s that my friends and I actually watched that movie.
It's amazing.
This movie is so bad, but I loved every second of it.
Yeah, it's the best movie ever made. See, I love trash. It's my
That's
favorite.
fair. I cut you off. I apologize. What were the movies that you said that doesn't get as much love? Or Sleepy Hollow and what was the other one? And Blow.
Blow.
Right. Okay, that's fair. Did you see Transcendence when it came out?
I didn't see it when it came out, but I sure have seen it now, and that movie is a movie.
Well, hopefully that doesn't happen in real life because I like my electronics. Not to give away anything, but
It's a terrible film. Public Enemies is good though. I'm glad that
I'm
we're
excited
talking
for Public Enemies.
because
Yes,
it's actually
Public Enemies is a good movie.
a good movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I also like Donnie Brasco is great.
Donnie Brasco is a good movie.
Yeah,
Al
yeah,
Pacino's amazing in
yeah.
it.
You can't
What
you
else
can't
to
go wrong when
say?
you put those two on screen together.
Yeah.
Are there any other movies that stand out to you that you're like, oh, I love this Johnny Depp movie?
Nightmare on Elm Street.
Ooh, the
He shows
old
up
school.
very briefly.
Yeah, I was about to say that's an
His
old
crop
school.
tops. It was his first movie. I love it.
That's
Yeah.
hilarious. No, I listen. I love Johnny Depp. Like as a performer.
Yeah.
Like, I always have to preface that.
I know.
Um,
And it's funny too, because you have to quantify it sometimes. And it's like, I don't know, we're not defending it, but like you can still
right,
celebrate the work that meant something to you
right,
because those
right.
movies do mean something.
Yes, they do.
And like Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, the list goes on and on and on
Hmm.
and on and on
Hmm.
of things that defined a lot of my and shaped a lot of my interests when I was a kid.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely. Yeah, I'm super excited to be talking Johnny Depp with you today, and we get 2 weeks of Johnny Depp, which makes
I
me
know 2 weeks of each
yeah.
other.
So once you watch all of his movies and review all his what's going to be next? Are you going to pick another troubled actor? Or are you going to go into more depth about Johnny Depp?
Yeah, it'll be a Nick Cage podcast after that.
Listen, listen.
That wouldn't be too bad.
100%. He has a new movie that came out, by the way, recently called Wally's World or something like that. And I saw a preview to it, and it looks horrible, and I can't wait to watch it.
You got to see this Nick Cage movie, Mom and Dad. It's awesome. It's actually, I mean, it's kind of good in the middle of a pandemic. It's about a virus that infects parents' brains and makes them want to kill their kids.
Oh, so it's a comedy.
It's very dark. It's dark sided. Yeah, it's really funny though. Nick Cage in the trailer, this doesn't spoil anything. He's like singing Hokey Pokey while like trying to kill his child. It's really
Oh,
funny.
my sweet Lord.
It's
Oh,
an
I can't wait to
amazing
watch.
movie.
I can't wait to watch.
Yeah, it's really good. I was thinking that like after I finished, I would probably pivot to like Tim Burton because then I'd only have to
Mm,
watch like 5 movies because
You can go
he's
into
only made movies
you
in
know
five.
what? I would love to do a Tim Burton podcast because I know that he was running into some controversy lately because from a diversity standpoint, because like people were saying he never cast any black people in his movies
No, I
ever.
think he knows too. Like I
Yeah,
don't,
like legit.
and he legitimately does not give them lines because he was quoted as saying they just don't fit with my aesthetic, and I'm like, that is
Right. I believe that is a thing that we call racism.
yes, that is capital R racism, and it's bullshit. And you're hiding behind your pale little sad town.
Yes, absolutely. Yep. Hmm. Yep.
Black people can be vampires too.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you seen Blade? Come on, damn it.
Truly.
He's a badass vampire. I know. I'm so happy that we got to sit and chat. A couple more questions I want to ask you here. How do you, Miss Theater aficionado, Johnny Depp extravaganza candle maker? How do you want people to remember Jenna Kuerzi at the end of the day?
At the end of the day, I would like to be remembered as being talented.
I would like, good sir, to be remembered for.
I will, yeah. I guess I would like to be remembered for being talented and funny and kind, which is different than nice.
Yes. You know what? I might actually write that down because I might actually want to do a blog about that. I'm glad you said that because that's a really good topic. How kind is different than nice. Yeah.
Yeah, because like you can be nice and not be kind. And you can be kind and not necessarily be nice. Because I think I'm a little salty, but like in a funny way, because it's like, whatever, who cares? Like, who am I? But so I'd be kind with a bite.
That's fair. Okay. That's fair. Jenna Kuerzi, kind with a bite. That's what's gonna say on your headstone, by the way. I'm gonna make sure of it.
Yeah, I hope so. It's like actor, ragamuffin, diabetic, kind with a bite,
If they want more Jenna, where can they go? What can they do?
you can come to my house. You
Yeah,
can
sure.
check
She
out.
lived that.
I'm always home. You can check out at Less Than a Muffin on Instagram and Twitter. It doesn't mean anything. It's just a username. You can also go to Jenna Kuerzi, Kurzi at or .com, not at gmail.com. .com for all the other stuff, and all my links and things are on there. Yeah.
Nice. This warmed my heart today. This warmed my heart today. I'm glad that because we never get to talk ever.
On this icy day is
I
very.
know. Oh my god, I was driving today, and I'm just like, I don't like this weather at all.
I
I
hate
move, please.
I hate winter. Every day
Mhm.
I get this close to packing up my Ford Focus, my 2013 Ford Focus, and driving across the country to a desert with a trunk full of candles, like every day.
Pick up Johnny Depp along the way. He's not doing anything, so
Yeah, right. I do have a very large cardboard cutout of Johnny Depp I could put in there, but
there we go. That would be perfect. Yeah, no, I'm not a fan of this weather, but this warmed my heart. Even though it's cold outside, this warmed my heart because we never get to talk ever. This is not a thing. People are witnessing history at the moment.
this and during Black History Month.
And during Black History Month, the shortest month of the damn year. I'm going to be celebrating until February 31st.
You should
So,
celebrate until next February. Y'all deserve it.
welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Black History Year. So excited.
God, I hope so. Good emotion.
Absolutely. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. So I'm so happy, Jenna, that we got to sit and chat, and I can't wait to be on your podcast next week. That's going to be fun. We're going to talk Public Enemies. Be sure you go follow Jenna. All of her information is going to be in the footnotes of this podcast, and also in all the descriptions and at the bottom of the screen and all that. So go follow Jenna, and you can also follow me while you're at it if you're not doing it already. You can follow me on my Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, all of that at The Vibe with Kai. You can also visit my website, thevibewithkai.com, where I'm always posting blogs and videos and things that help you do good, feel good, be good, and live a good life full of good vibes. To my friend, Jenna Kuerzi, thank you so much for joining me on the Kyrus Has Friends podcast. Everybody else, thank you so much for listening and for watching. As always, God bless and good vibes.